They changed the rules about what analysts are allowed to do. I think in June it became official. How has that changed what your day-to-day is like?
I think it's more so like a lot of the practice stuff, meetings, more so on the field. I think that was the biggest thing because before I was in a lot of the quarterback meetings with Coach Babers. So, being there with another coach that's one of the full-time 10 was never an issue. Now it's more so being on the field of where I can be more hands-on, one-on-one with these guys. And Coach Babers doesn't have to be present anymore. That's the biggest change. I think that's different than before.
There's a bit of an appearance that it's been tough for the first-team offense against this first-team defense, especially in the passing game. What are you seeing from Noah in terms of how quickly he's processing the plays and can get ready to football?
The fun thing about Noah is his mind is always on what's our plan, what's our plan, what's our plan. And a lot of times early in camp it's like, just trust the process. That's the biggest thing, is just understanding we got a lot of new parts, a lot of new pieces as far as personnel. This is obviously a new offense where we were doing it in the spring, but we didn't have guys in the spring that we have now in fall camp. So there's going to be a timeline of these guys having to learn, how to adjust to whatever we had drawn on paper. Now all of a sudden you present a defense and there's going to be adjustments that need to be made. And so early on, I think that's what you saw is some of that adjustment period, as I like to tell, Noah. And now obviously we all continue to have those conversations of when we get to game day, this will be something that we can do of presenting different options of how we want to take care of those problems that we may be seeing, or ways of being able to go about that situation. But that's the beauty of working with Noah, is he's always going to be, one step ahead. And sometimes you got to be able to just continue to let him know, hey, we got other guys that aren't on your level yet. We're trying to get to that point, but this is what that point is. We're learning and we're working through it. So.
What's your guys' philosophy in terms of throwing the ball on the run? And do you anticipate he's going to have to throw a lot of passes from outside the pocket?
Yeah, just a lot of times that was something that we felt good about, just to be able to help in whatever way it is, whether it's helping with the run, being able to take care of extra guys outside the box, or creating a numbers advantage on the perimeter. That was something that we did a lot of, we were familiar with. I think also Coach Babers was familiar with a lot of that stuff. And so, when we came here in the spring, a lot of it was trial and error of trying to see what we're good at, what our guys can pick up, what they understand, and then kind of going from there, planning for fall camp.
Matt and Brian.
Building off Michael's question just a little bit, you guys get into coaching for a chance to develop players and develop your own career.
Mm-hmm.
With the NCAA approving, unlimited full-time on-field coaches, how much does that, bring you closer to what you do this for? Because being able to be on the field, being able to give instruction like that, being able to invest in guys and develop them in a way that you never have before, it feels like it's very beneficial for the athletes and the team as a whole.
Yeah, it definitely brings another level of, trust and camaraderie and just chemistry within the staff and the players. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that's felt any different than day one. That's always been kind of our goal from day one, is to build the relationship part of it before anything, because guys aren't going to trust you out on the field until they can trust you just on a personal level. And so I think that connection is always goal number one as far as my goals. And I know Coach Brennan felt the same way. That's why we came in here, and obviously considering the situation of the coaching change and all that stuff. But I think no matter where we would have been as a coaching staff, or no matter where we continue to go from as a coaching staff, I think as a coach, that is the number one day rule, is you got to be able to build a relationship on a personal level, and then we'll get to the X's and O's.
And that's from the coach's standpoint as well. Young coaches now have an opportunity to develop in a way that they never have before.
Yep.
Do you think this opens the door for more guys to continue to progress in the industry?
Absolutely. I think the more you can get young coaches involved, I think it's awesome. There's always been that deal where, as a coach, having been through it now for however many years of being that young guy at one time, you just got so many guys that are going for these positions at this level, especially in this Power 4 level, So many people are trying to go for that position, and now that we've got the opportunity to be able to expand that number and give, more and more guys an opportunity to get hands-on out there on the field, I mean, that's really where the true coaching takes place. We could sit back with a control in our hand and show you all the different examples and teach off of what we just saw. But until it's live and real live bullets are flying, and you got to be able to give that guy a coaching point in the moment about technique, about assignment, alignment, whatever that is, that's when you truly figure out, am I a good coach or do I have some work to do?
Brian and then Troy.
Do you have a comp for Noah, maybe from someone else you've coached or someone you've observed in the game that his style and his skill set fits best with?
You're talking about just as far as my coaching style?
Or just someone that you would compare him to?
Oh, gotcha. There was one gentleman, there's a combination of a few guys just because Noah's special, right? He's got the character part of it. He's got the off the field part of it that makes him special. He's got the on the field X's and O's savviness that makes him special. Also, a lot of the way that he speaks to, media and other people, how to handle a lot of the outside pressures. Like there's a combination of so many quarterbacks that I think did very well in some departments, but not in as many as he is. I'd say the one that probably close resembles his game and his study habits as far as the football part of it, as well as being a person, was a quarterback that we had at Oregon State. His name was Sean Mannion. And Sean Mannion was someone that we literally had to kick out of the building every night because he wouldn't leave. He wanted to soak up as much as we could, or as much as he could. And there were moments where it was like, hey, man, like, we gave you a break after practice. Like, you need to go and rest because this is a part of being a professional, right? It was like there's a fine line of letting them push the limits as far as getting what they want out of it, but there's also a professional part when they get to that level. They understand that the rest part of it is just as important as the study, right? So kind of expressing that part of it to Noah is something that we're kind of going through right now. It's like, hey, Noah, we'll get our time in and we'll get you all your extra time that you want to come in and study, but also recovery is a big part of it as well.
Troy and then Jordan.
You kind of mentioned it, but just looking at the guys behind Noah, how have they been developing, and who's maybe somebody that's really stood out to you during this training camp thus far?
Yeah, I think they're all doing a good job of battling it out day to day. I think they're all doing a great job of taking the coaching and getting the extra time in, coming in, meeting. And they're taking advantage. There's obviously still some improvements that can be made amongst the other four, but you're seeing flashes of them, flashes of them playing, every single one of them from time to time. So as we evaluate that thing moving forward, it's just a matter of, I told those guys from day one I'm going to be fully transparent, and I give them kind of landmarks along the practices. Like at the beginning of the camp, it was, hey, this is, everybody's on the same boat, starting from the ground up. I don't care if you were here in the spring or here in the summer. This is going to be an open trial. So, and then as we got through practice 10, it was kind of like, all right, this is where we're at. Now we got to start locking it in because the closer we get to New Mexico, obviously we got to start shaping up who's going to be up next and whatnot. So I think they're all approaching it amazingly, paying attention a lot to details. There's not one time has there ever been a question of why am I not second, or how come his reps are this, how come his reps are that, which is a big thing that I like to teach, because I'm like, if your focus is on reps, then your focus means it's not on the current play or whatever we're doing at that time, and you got to continue to keep that mindset as this thing goes forward.
Jordan and Michael.
Hey, Coach. How did playing internationally impact the way you view the game and the way you coach?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because I would say I pretty much when you play nationally, right, you got to put things in simplest form. When it comes to coaching, it's the same way. However you can translate to turn on the light in every single one of their heads, right, that is the best way that you can present or translate whatever you're trying to get done as an offense, as a position group. So that was my first step of truly coaching, especially considering there's a language barrier, right? I decided to pick the two hardest languages to learn coming up through grade school, right, are Japanese and French. Most people are just, hey, I'll take Spanish 1, and they're like, what about Japanese and French? Like, nah. So there was a little bit of that, but I'd say overall, the first lesson that I learned was how to be able to put things in simplest forms in terms of translating the game plan.
What was the biggest kind of transition, I guess?
Oh, overseas? I would say just knowing that the game of football here is obviously something that's second to none. A lot of us are doing it since we're young. Over there, it's kind of something that's more of a hobby. And so I really had to go back to, okay, I can't just go up to the line and say, hey, you got a post, you got a corner, you got to dig. And then, because the first time I did that, I went to snap the ball, and our slot receiver was like, okay. And then ball snapped, he goes, what's a corner? So I really had to, go back to being able to teach them, almost going back to kindergarten and going like day one, let's go through this thing. And so, again, it was just a reminder of me of never assuming that those guys know what you know. And again, another carryover into coaching now, it's like you got to make sure you're covering every base and everybody's, because a lot of times your players will do the same thing, right? They're all standing there, you're going through it, explaining to Noah, and they're all shaking their head yes, and you look him straight in the eye and say, you understand, and he'll continue to shake his head yes, and not until you get on the field. And so keeping that in mind is always helpful.
Last question to Michael.
I have two. First one is, what has stood out to you about Cole Tannenbaum since you started coaching him?
I think the first thing when I first got here, Cole really, he's very shy, very quiet. And I think it was just a part of the transition of getting to know the staff, Coach Brennan, the head coach, who his position coach is going to be, and all that stuff. So it took a little bit of time getting to know Tannenbaum, but I think we're at that point now where he's understood, like, as we move forward, I want you guys to come out of your shell and try things in the spring. When we were in the spring, I said, try out different footwork with these routes that you've known and thrown in the past, and if it's something new, try out different things that work. Because in the spring ball, right, we're not getting ready for a season, so this gives you an opportunity to be able to try different things that may work to every individual. And I think now at this point, he's so comfortable with it. Now it's like the processing of knowing where he's going with the ball, understanding the defense. A lot of that stuff is starting to speed up in his head pre-snap, and now post-snap, he's just reacting. He's reacting and making good decisions.
And then how advantageous is it for the staff that New Mexico plays a game before you guys do?
Very. I think that goes across the whole country. Of anytime there's a game before yours as the first week of the season, it always kind of gives you something that you can look at that's more recent. Right now, their defensive coordinator is probably going to be going back and watching Coach Babers, what he was doing at Syracuse, what we were doing at San Jose, and now he's kind of trying to figure out, all right, what's going to show up, if he can scour anything off the internet that's recent from practices or whatever. But until you actually see a game, right, there's always going to be that question mark in terms of scouting another team. So to be able to have that in our hands going into that first week will definitely be something that we'll use.
All right, that's our time.
Thank you very much.